With double game week 24 looming, some of you might potentially be thinking about activating that wildcard chip to fully get the best use out of this double game week. And in today's video, I've built the ultimate wildcard team, as well as giving you all the data you need to make the best decisions this game week. Now, of course, before we dive into today's video, if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as we are trying to hit 12,500 subscribers by the end of the season, and it is only possible with your amazing help. Let's first off start taking a look at the 11ify data. Of course, if you want to go and use this yourself, there will be a link in the description to their amazing website. So let's look at the clean sheet data. I just want to caveat this and say it doesn't include the Liverpool-Everton game within this double game week set. However, I will flash that on screen very quickly for you guys to see what those projected numbers are. I believe it's around 1.91 projected goals, somewhere around 41% clean sheet, I want to say. But yeah, I'll flash those on screens as well, so you can add them to these data sets as well. But as you can see, some of the top defences over the next few weeks are going to be Arsenal, are going to be Liverpool, and are going to be Crystal Palace as well. I think Palace is probably the interesting one. You know, obviously we're going to be looking at Munoz as our probably top pick, but they've also got some other decent options as well. Mitchell, obviously you could maybe go for the cheap goalkeeper route and go for Dean Henderson as well. He could be a decent shout on a wild card with some, like I said, steady projected clean sheet numbers. However, it is probably going to be more towards the top two that we are looking. Probably going to be Gabriel and a Trent or Canate, whether or not you want to go down that route as well, with really good clean sheet numbers. And of course for Liverpool, the double game week pending as well. I feel Chelsea are probably high up on this list, but not worth any consideration. They just seem to not be able to keep a clean sheet at the moment for me personally, so not a team I'm going to be looking towards any sort of investment with. We're seeing a little bit of a drop off in terms of Nottingham Forest as well, so there won't be any Forest players included on this wildcard draft. Now that could be potentially a little bit of an oversight from my standpoint. However, their next 5 fixtures aren't great from both an attacking and defensive standpoint, nor an FDR rating as well, and Forest have actually been massively overperforming in both metrics so far this season. So I do feel like there might be a drop off at this point and maybe worth some consideration elsewhere. Bournemouth are a really good team that I would be looking at as well. Matchday 25 is probably the ideal hop on point for most of their players, but of course with our wildcard we will be picking potentially 2 or, you know, maybe 3. Nah, it's only just going to be 2 players from Bournemouth as well. Let's move on then. Let's keep this show on the road and let's tick into the projected goals. Again, coming from 11ify. Like I said, there will be a link to their amazing website in the description. We're seeing Liverpool on top. Again, doesn't include the projected goal numbers for the double game week for the Everton game as well. But like I said, I did flash that on screen and I believe it was 1.91 as well. So really good numbers for Liverpool over the next 3. So definitely worth obviously considering Mohamed Salah. He's pretty much nailed. But it is maybe worth taking a gamble on one of those other Liverpool attackers as well. Of course, with the Jota injury, you know, maybe that opens the door up a little bit, and maybe potentially a Gakpo, a Diaz could be worth that little bit of a cheeky punt over the next few weeks as well. Chelsea's numbers are pretty good, but as you can see, it is more tailed towards 27 and 28, with them having pretty decent fixtures there. But I feel like their attackers are too inconsistent outside of Cole Palmer. So for right now, probably wouldn't recommend any really going there. Same goes with Spurs as well. Good numbers across the next 6 game weeks. However, with their inconsistency in form, and of course their players being injured or not really delivering at the same levels that we've expected to see from some Spurs assets, again, probably not going to be worth any sort of consideration. I think that goes with the Arsenal guys as well. I feel all of these teams at the moment are struggling a little bit in terms of their attacking numbers and kind of having that shining light within their attacking lineup. So not for me going to be worth any sort of consideration. City, there's a few odd fixtures in here, but Haaland definitely not going to be justifying the price. I think with the fixtures as well and the difficulty of them, I don't think Foden is also going to be an option on this wildcard for me personally. So yeah, definitely don't think they're going to be 2 teams I would be looking at. Brentford, I think the game week 23 one is probably a little bit low. I would be maybe expecting a little bit higher. Maybe the 11ify model backs Palace a little bit more than I would say so, but decent numbers across the board. So Visser and Mbeumo definitely going to be worth some sort of consideration. Everton could be maybe a team that we want to look at in terms of attackers. Obviously DCL getting back amongst the goals this weekend, but for me personally, I think their numbers are just a little bit too low. The Leicester fixture is very tempting. However, the fact that they're sat 19th for expected goals created so far this season, does suggest that there is a lack of creativity and a lack of kind of goal threat. And I don't think personally on a wildcard you want to be picking up these dud-ish players like Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who after double game week 24 you're probably going to want to bin off after that game week. Let's head on then. Before we look into the team itself, we are going to look at the total predicted points for the next 5 game weeks. As we can see, Mohamed Salah clear by a country mile. I don't think there's really any surprise. I think Palmer and Isak as well, very easy nailed players on there. We're starting to see some Liverpool players as well, of course, with that double game week coming up. Trent, Diaz and Gakpo as well. Ahmed, I think at 5.6 is a fantastic budget option. Same goes with Bruno Fernandes, but I think when we've got Ahmed there, he's definitely going to be the one that is going to be the shining light. And Mbeumo Visser as well, also making it onto the list. Mateta as well could also be a decent shout for the next 3 game weeks. Of course, finding himself back amongst the goals, and not bad data from the 11FI model as well for those projected goal involvements for Crystal Palace coming up. That was the data set. Let me know what you think of it down in the comments below, and let's move on to this wildcard team for game week 23. Wasting no time, let's dive into my wildcard team ahead of game week 23. Starting off first in goal is going to be Jordan Pickford, one of the highest scoring goalkeepers within the game, and obviously you know why he's in here. Everton, historically, for the past few years, have been very rigid and very good defensively. David Moyes, I do feel, will be able to continue that trend as well. His sides have always managed to, you know, be pretty nifty within the back line. Of course, as well, that double game week in 24, the big appeal of going for him in goal. Fabianski, our other goalkeeper as well, just a cheap 4 million goalkeeper if we do need him. But I personally don't like using goalkeepers to rotate. So for me personally, I would just maybe just have Fabianski there and just stick him on the bench. Maybe if Pickford's got a really difficult game, of course, play Fabianski. However, Pickford picked up a large majority of his points last season against top 6 sides, and we're seeing very similar trends from him again this season. Moving into that back line then, as we can see, we've got Hall, Gabriel and Ipswich, all with absolutely stellar defensive fixtures this week. I do feel Hall probably will start to kind of fall out of favour in terms of FPL managers over the next 4 to 5 game weeks, with Newcastle's fixtures starting to get a little bit more difficult. However, his attacking data is absolutely incredible and definitely worth considering this week as well. I manage his effective ownership could be pretty deadly, of course, if you didn't have him. Gabriel, we saw from the 11FI data, of course, those numbers are looking absolutely exceptional, and again is one of the highest players for expected goal involvement so far this season. So really good numbers from him, considering he is a centre-back, but of course that is down to mainly the way that Arsenal play with their centre-backs, and obviously looking to kind of use set pieces to their full advantage. Trent's going to be in here, of course. That double game week, the fixture in game week 23 and the fixture following it as well are very appetising from Trent Alexander-Arnold's perspective. We saw, again, bringing up that 11FI data, the clean sheet numbers that are projected from Liverpool as well, not even factoring in the Everton game as well within that. Of course, his numbers have been absolutely incredible. 0.37 expected goal involvement per 90. I watched the Brentford game and I was just mesmerised with this lad. Honestly, I feel over the next few weeks he could go and pick up an absolute mega haul. Like I said, with the good defensive numbers, Liverpool being one of the top teams for XG conceded as well so far this season, that for me feels like a no-brainer and is actually my second favourite Liverpool asset behind Mohamed Salah to go and pick up ahead of this double game week. In terms of our bench defenders, we've got Huijsen, obviously, again alluding back to that double the data from 11FI. We saw that, you know, Bournemouth and Palace with Munoz there, decent numbers over the next few weeks. Munoz, of course, got that really good attacking potential. Huijsen's numbers as well have actually been better than Kirker's over the past few weeks, but you know, he seems to be popping up with goals. 4.3 million seems like a real good steal with decent fixtures, like I said, on the horizon for Bournemouth post game week 24. Moving into the midfield, we're going to start off first with Ahmed. 5.6 million for him feels like an absolute steal. Obviously one of the main attacking threats from Manchester United side. Him and Bruno Fernandes pretty much feel like the only two that are able to score goals right now for those sides, of course. Mohamed Salah, pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory one, this one. We saw top for the projected numbers as well from the Fantasy Football Hub model. Again, with that double game week, of course, if you've got the triple captainship left, I would highly be recommended playing it in double game week 24 as well if you do have it. Great fixtures for Salah. I know he's not been obviously putting in the kind of numbers that we're used to seeing from him this season, but the data's still been there. Liverpool, from an attacking perspective as well, have also been pretty decent. The fixture's not ideal for Cole Palmer this week, but again, with his super high effective ownership, harping back to the 11-5 projected goal involvement numbers as well, looking really, really good across the board, and I feel like he offers a decent alternative every single week, bar, of course, where Chelsea have the extremely difficult fixtures for Mohamed Salah, and it seems like every other week he is plus 100% effective ownership, so I do feel like he is obviously kind of just cramming himself into this team. Bryan Mbeumo, a player that I absolutely love, 0.56 expected goal involvement from him. He, of course, is on penalties, plays 90 minutes. The fixtures for Brentford are great over the next few weeks as well. One of the best home records in Europe and in the Premier League. Of course, they've got some of the best expected goal numbers at home as well this season. So when Brentford do have home fixtures, oh my, they are very, very tasty. Their away form leaving a lot to be desired, but maybe that can improve with some good fixtures over the next few. And finally on the bench is going to be Cliver. I really like him as an option. Of course, Bournemouth, have been hampered with injuries, meaning that he's probably going to see decent minutes over the next 5 to 6 game weeks as well, on penalties, and he's just having a great season. Of course, 2 Premier League hat-tricks for him. You know how I feel about penalty takers with decent fixtures coming up, and like I said, he rotates nicely around your other midfielders and the forwards as well when we do, of course, get onto those. So let's take a look at the 3 forwards we've gone for. Now, first off, I'm going to start off with Visser. He is one of my favourite players and has some of the best per 90 data out of all the strikers available within the game. Of course, though, there are rumours that, you know, Nottingham Forest are thinking about putting in a bid. I read the other day that Manchester United are thinking about a bid as well. So, you know, maybe want to potentially monitor his transfer situation with, of course, over a week left in the transfer market. So that might be one to maybe just put on the back burner and maybe take a look at other forward options. But I do feel within his price bracket, he, for me personally, is the best option. There is nobody else that is cutting the mustard like him. Isak. Yeah, Isak against Southampton, that feels like a goal fest. That feels like 100+ effective ownership as well. I feel like I don't really need to kind of explain this one on Alexander Isak. I feel right now, probably the best striker, maybe only Chris Wood's rivaling him in terms of Premier League kind of forwards at the moment. And then finally, it is going to be Cody Gakpo. I do feel like, of course, he is going to be the left-hand side of that Liverpool attack. I feel like with the substitutions at the weekend, we saw that. I am filming this before the Liverpool game. So, of course, if Trent or Salah do pick up injuries, of course, you know, I will update in the comments which other players I would be suggesting. But for me, he feels like a worthwhile gamble, like I said, with the strong projected goal involvement numbers for Liverpool coming up over the next few weeks. With that double game week as well, feels like he could be a very strong and nice differential. Let me know what you think of this wildcard draft down in the comment section below. Of course, if you've got any questions about your team, get them in, as I'll try to answer as many as I possibly can. But thank you very much for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck in Game Week 23.